Hi newsletter subscribers, thank you for being my newsletter subscribers, and thank you for there being so many of you now that MailChimp is charging me. I'm only joking, I love that. I'm really happy with that. That's great. I'm so happy that that many people actually want to you know, receive exclusive content from me and stuff. It's great. So thank you so much. And in this video, I'm just going to sort of shoot the shit really and just sort of hang out with you guys a bit, see what you think in the comments, and give you some thoughts that I haven't necessarily expressed anywhere else online and may not express anywhere else online. I don't really know. I had thought about making a video about some of these thoughts, and then it occurred to me that I do want to put them out, but I don't necessarily want to package them into a video that's going to be a finished product on the channel. It's just ideas I'm having and realizations about my own self-love journey as somebody with a platform on the internet, if you will, and how I've had to use a lot of the self-love stuff that I posit to others myself along my own way. And I also want to talk about some of the joys of doing SLS and some of the things I've noticed that are not so joyful. So grab a beverage, or if you've got some chores to do, you know, do them while you're listening to me. Let me accompany you, darling, with whatever it is that you have got to do. Okay. I'm drinking cherry tea. I'm obsessed with this cherry tea from Taylor's of Harrogate. It is so delicious. Absolutely amazing. I've been thinking about treating myself to a big bunch of teas from like independent sellers and creators and like witches and stuff like that, so that I can review them. I love that idea. It's like, well, I have to buy loads of tea. I'm reviewing it for my channel. It's like a professional thing. I'm just trying to find any excuse I can to just drown in tea. Okay. So I fucking love doing Self-Love September. It is amazing every year getting to, first of all, see the progress of people who have done it in previous years and check in with clients who are doing it, and just like, it's just really interesting and humbling. And I think that it always feels like a privilege to me to hear other people's stories and know what other people's self-love plans are. It's always really great as well to sort of watch people's content that they put out over Self-Love September. It's amazing, amazing, amazing to read the comments underneath my videos for Self-Love September. I know it does put some people off. I know not everybody is into the SLS content and they do make themselves scarce for the month of September, but I'm still really enjoying it. And one of my closest friends asked me a few weeks ago, would there ever come a time where I'm not going to do it? I mean, obviously there will come a time when I won't do it because I shall be dead and gone, darling. But she kind of meant like, are you going to run out of steam for it soon? Are you gonna, is it going to be like another couple of years and then you're just going to hang it up? And to be honest with you, it does seem like it's turned into a movement. So it's bigger than me and it's bigger than my channel, which is great, and people will carry it on, which is great. But in terms of what I'm bringing to the proceedings and how I feel about it, I'm still backed up with things to say about self-love. And every year, year on year, I experience more things to talk about. Like, I've literally already got a little bit of a list going for things that I want to talk about next year. Not that I'm never going to talk about self-love until next September, because it's important and I do talk about it in my content, but it's like I'm already thinking about what the next year is going to bring, and how I can sort of move into creating the content for 2019. So I'm definitely not ready to hang up my boots yet. I still enjoy it. I still think it's a really valuable project for me, and it's a challenge for me, and it kind of takes me out of my comfort zone as well, because I do have a schedule for my September content, and I'm usually pretty anti-schedule for putting videos up and stuff. I like to be more Saggy than Virgo about my putting videos up usually, so I never have a schedule per se. I may have a little list of things I want to put out over the course of a month, and I might put them out or not put them out, but I'm never going to be one of those I post on Monday, Wednesday and Friday type people, because it would just suck all the fun out of it for me. So for me, having September on a very rigid schedule where I actually print out a sort of month to view calendar and I put all the finalized video titles in, and then I make them and edit them and schedule them, it's like, wow, that is just very a challenge for me kind of thing. And it's a challenge for me kind of curating what I want the topics to be each year. And some of the video content is challenging for me to make as well. Like, I was a little bit nervous today putting out my video about sexual confidence and sexual expression. It's not something I've addressed on my channel before. It's something that indeed the platform of YouTube is becoming increasingly hostile towards, actually. And it's something that's not actually a part of what a lot of people would consider to be my core remit, if you will. So I was nervous about that, and it does take me out of my comfort zone in that way, because I want to have a varied collection of topics that I feel that I can speak to. I don't want to just come out with any old bullshit, you know, just stuff I researched and mangled together into a video. It's got to be stuff that I'm passionate about, that I think has helped me, or that I've noted has helped clients. But essentially, yeah, I riff on things during Self-Love September that are out of the box for me sometimes, because I'm trying to create a bunch of materials that are going to be useful for the maximum amount of people. And so talking about sex on my channel was like, oh, I was nervous. You can kind of tell when you watch the video. It's like I'm kind of talking a bit rushed, because it's just not what I do on my channel. It's not the usual kind of thing I talk about. So yeah, it's challenging for me, and I really enjoy that about it. And I just love connecting with people with regard to what's going on with them self-love wise. That's really cool. What I don't like so much, that I do notice that kind of worries me, is that on the run up to September most years, I notice a lot of people getting excited about it, saying that they're going to watch the videos, or that they've got their own plans for things they're going to do to up their game in terms of self-love in September, which is amazing. But I also notice that there's a handful of people who say that they are worried about it, they're nervous about it, they're anxious about it, they already feel like they're going to fail, they already feel like they're not going to watch all of the videos, or they're not going to be able to fulfill their own self-love plan. And I feel really kind of sad about that. It's like, it's not supposed to be pressurizing, and I'm not saying that the way people are seeing it is wrong or anything like that. I think the way that you view the experience is the way that it is for you. That is your reality, and I completely understand that. But it makes me so sad that people would be overwhelmed by something that they see to be this massive, really intense kind of chore for them, because it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be about you taking what you want to take from the materials and going as far as you want to go with the materials, you know, and enjoying it for what it can be for you at your point in life, at your point on the journey. It's not supposed to be about you kind of following everything exactly to the letter and doing everything I suggest in every video, or even watching every video. It's really about you sort of tailoring it to your needs. So I do feel kind of sad, like, on behalf of people who feel overwhelmed. And I think sometimes I also question myself and my approach to SLS. I think to myself sometimes, like, am I actually just making an overwhelming bunch of shit that's just stressing people out? But, you know, some people find it difficult to really truly recognize that they can tailor something to their needs, and I've definitely gone through this experience as well, where I feel like if I'm not doing it exactly the way it's laid out and doing it to the letter, then it's not right, or I've failed in some way. So I can relate to that too, but as a creator I have to go with what is in my gut to do, and I have to just kind of put out the resources the way I want to put them out. But I do feel something, a collection of feelings, let's say, a mangled, tangled bunch of feelings when people say they're worried or they're overwhelmed or they can't like handle it, basically. But I know it's probably because they're telling themselves that they've got to watch everything I put out, and they've got to journal about everything I put out, or, you know, the vast majority of my videos do include tips for things you can do in your solo work, things you can try, things you can think about in your own time. And for some people that is just always inevitably going to be too much. So, you know, some people do get stressed, and I do go round and reply to as many people as possible on that point and just say, like, you know, please don't think you have to do everything and really like go balls to the wall, because you absolutely don't have to do that. You know, you can make of it what you want to make of it. So I do stress that to people. So one thing I want to get off my chest, right, and I did tweet about this the other day, and I did say in the tweet that I was going to do a video about this on YouTube. I don't know if I will do a video about this in October. I might do, but I'd have to think about how I wanted to present it, because I don't want it to be a rant and I don't want it to be super venty. And most of the videos on my channel are instructional, so I'd have to figure out how I would make it instructional. Maybe it would be something for content creators so they could understand that this is the kind of thing you might come up against. I don't know. But basically, I get frustrated sometimes with the kind of work that I do on YouTube and on social media, because the advice that I put out is not specific to anyone. It's general and for everyone. And sometimes it's like people just don't get that memo. And every so often somebody will write something on social media, like a self-development person or a sort of spiritual helper or teacher or whatever. They'll write something on social media and they do need to be taken to task for it. And I don't mean bullied or like shamed, but I mean that sometimes people can't see when some of the advice that they give is just shockingly out of touch, you know, like super privileged or incredibly ableist or whatever. You know, like sometimes maybe somebody will say something. I know I've seen a lot of people say that you should only do your Book of Shadows by hand with a pen, because that's the way that it's like the most profound experience, whatever. Like obviously that's forgetting that some people don't have hands, some people don't have the use of their hands, some people have dyspraxia, some people have ADHD and find it easier to, like, you know, there's all sorts of things where somebody can't do that, or it doesn't feel right, or it's, you know, whatever the case may be. And I don't think there's anything wrong with someone coming into their comments section and saying, it's probably not a good idea for you to imply that the best way, the spiritually elevated way, is the way that I can't do because I lost my hand to polio when I was 3 or whatever, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with, and that's just purely a fictitious example. I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody expressing how something might be more inclusive. I don't mind that. People have done that to me, and sometimes I have agreed with what they've said, and sometimes actually I haven't agreed, but I've still apologised on the basis that they were hurt. Like, you know, there are certain situations where I feel like my use of certain wording is acceptable on the basis that words in the English language do mean more than one thing. But if somebody finds a word, you know, to be, like if I say a situation is crazy and somebody says, I don't like it when you describe a situation as crazy because I have mental health issues, like to me, that doesn't make sense. But I'm still trying to navigate my way through what it means to reform your use of language based on how other people feel about certain things that you don't feel the same way about. And I have been mentally unwell, very severely so actually. So it's difficult to navigate, and you know, but I accept that everybody's coming from their own point of view, right? So I understand why sometimes people who are giving out advice need to be reminded that, like, you know what, that advice is great for some people, but to me it sounds like you're trying to say that I can't be what I need to be or whatever. But I do feel like sometimes people take it very far, to the point where, I mean, it just gets silly. It's like it's just an inspirational meme. Like it doesn't have to be that deep and that serious. The other day somebody was really insulted by a piece of advice. It wasn't me that wrote it, I just shared it on my Facebook, and it made me think about the fact that I've gone through this time after time in my adventures online, and like trying to just put out inspirational things that really connect with someone. Like that's all I'm ever trying to do, right? I'm trying to help someone to connect with themselves, and I'm trying to put out something that's really just going to be that thing for somebody that is just amazing in that moment, right? And I'm always trying to avoid, of course, putting out anything that is like exclusionary or comes from this really narrow perspective. And I've no doubt in my mind that I am occasionally going to put things out like that, and people are going to show me my own arse, and I'm going to go, oh shit, I didn't think about it like that, I'm sorry, right? And that's fine. But sometimes it's like people just want to see something there that just isn't there. Like this meme says, people romanticize their plans but dread the execution. The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. I think that's amazing. I don't think that excludes anyone. I think that everybody can have some kind of plan that they want to get on board with, something they're thinking of doing, you know, something that they are really hoping to put into place, whatever that is, and they can be avoiding that work. I think that that can happen to anyone that is conscious on the planet, right? But somebody put in the comments, sounds like you forgot disabled people exist, but okay. I mean, I actually have ADHD, but okay. Wow, thanks, I'm cured. And all of these things are links to those silly little pages on Facebook where you can say what you want to say to somebody, but it's also connected to a community of people who are pissed off by ableism or whatever the case may be. And I just read that and I was like, this is a massive reach. This is such a reach. This is not ableist. Like, you can totally have plans as somebody with ADHD. You can have a plan and you can fear executing that plan. It makes complete sense. It's like as inclusive as it can possibly be. And, you know, anything that made you feel excluded about it was absolutely not in any way intentional on my part, nor was it a sign that I have forgotten that disabled people exist. Or people with disabilities. Like, that's another thing I'm trying to shape. This is the kind of thing that I've put up with since I've been doing what I'm doing. Well-intentioned things that are not problematic. I refuse to believe that that meme is problematic. It's just picking, right? And so, you know, that there is that element to it. Like, if you're going to put yourself on a public platform, that's part of what you have to deal with, is somebody deciding that you purposefully forgot about them in particular, that something that you posted was specifically intended to attack or to demean or to erase. And that's the kind of thing that I have to graciously respond to, and I do graciously respond, and I did respond, and I said, you know, I'm not seeing where you are seeing the ableism in this. I feel like everybody of all kinds of different abilities have plans that they fear executing, and that so the meme is completely inclusive of anybody who has any kind of plans that they want to get to, whether they can walk, whether they can't walk, whether they're like, you know, whether they're struggling with mental health problems, or whatever the case may be. Everybody's got things that they feel like they need to do, even if their plan is just to like try and get out of bed in the morning or whatever. I know that when I was at my very, very worst with my back injury and I could barely walk at all, sometimes I couldn't leave my bed all day and I was just fucked on diazepam, which is Valium for anyone who's wondering what diazepam is. My plan for the day was just to be able to stretch out and to use a face wipe to wash my face. Like, it was literally that small. My plan was to keep in high spirits despite my situation. My plan was to watch a documentary and really take it in. Sit there in the bed or lie there in the bed, try and get comfortable and like actually feed my brain. That was my plan. It didn't have to be a big plan. It wasn't a plan that involved anything that was stupendous according to anybody else's view of anything. But to me, it was a plan that was nurturing for me, that I wanted to actually give myself to, right? So to me, that meme would have been, it would have made sense, even though I was in a very difficult place and I couldn't move and I couldn't walk and we had no idea whether or not I was going to get better. You know, and I know everybody has a different perspective on things, but sometimes I think somebody reads something, they're in a bad way in some sense, which is awful for them, but they decide to make it that person's fault in the sense that they're like, you've excluded me, you've demeaned me, you've erased me. And that is coming completely out of left field, and that is just not necessary. But I'm aware I'll always deal with that when I'm putting out the messages that I put out about self-love and the shadow and all of that stuff. I'm always going to deal with some people who are going to see something in something I post that is simply not there. And it's not like I forgot I wildly like executed something from a place of extreme privilege and I needed to be checked on it, which I'm sure will happen, and in fact has happened. It's not that. It's like where it's just a complete and total and utter reach. It's just not there. It is not there. It's how you choose to perceive the advice that is the issue. And if you choose to perceive it from a place of feeling like it excludes you and it's not useful to you, then that's how it's going to be perceived. But at my very worst, with my mental and emotional problems and with my physical problems, even if I was having a bad day and I was to read something like that and I was to feel like it was excluding me and it was not helpful, I would never make it that content creator's fault. And I think that's where I feel like I've tried to do some work on myself, that I would never put it in that person's face and say, this doesn't reflect anything that I think I can do with my reality today. Fuck you very much for posting that. You know, that's not what I would do. I would know that it wasn't personal to me. It wasn't intentionally meant to make me feel worse about my situation. In the tweet, or the tweet thread that I wrote, I said that the reason that content creators who put out stuff about personal development and self-love say that you should take what resonates with you and leave the rest is because not everything is going to resonate with you, and that is okay. Not every piece of advice is for you. I remember years ago, quite a few years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago now, I put out a video about when friends change and when you can't connect with people like you used to be able to anymore. And I basically just kind of, I'm so distracted because somebody keeps trying to ring me and I just need to make sure they're okay. Oh no, it's okay, they've sent me a message. Yeah, so basically I put out a video where I was kind of talking about when friendships change, when relationships change, and you have to sort of graciously move on, and you may be tempted to judge that person as not sort of behaving as the best version of themselves by not following you on the healthy, positive pathway that you're on, but actually sometimes you're just in different places. That was the gist of my rambly video that I made. And somebody turned up in my inbox, a fellow content creator who doesn't make content anymore, and they were like, just basically trying to explain to me how my video had nothing to do with their personal situation, where they absolutely had a right to be angry with this person, and that basically they were saying, I think you've missed the mark here, that you're wrong, because in these situations it's valid to be angry with someone who's fallen out of step with you. And I read it and I wrote back and I was like, okay, but I'm not doing a one-on-one counselling session with you right now. I didn't have access to any of that context about you as an individual until you just got here to my inbox and told me what you've just told me. Now, if we were doing some one-on-one work together, then I totally could wrap my head around the fact that you required something different, that you, you know, that you're in the midst of a situation that wouldn't necessarily be helped per se by the content I just put out. You know, essentially, really, I didn't have access to that context. The video was not for you personally, it was for everybody generally. So really, if it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't resonate with you. But I'm not trying to say you're wrong for being angry with your friend, nor should you be telling me I'm wrong for putting out a resource where I suggest that sometimes it's not worth being angry with your friends. It's just the fact that we're not doing this as a tailored one-on-one thing. Like, I can't speak to your situation, and the video wasn't intended to speak to your situation. You know, everything can only be general until you're provided some sort of context to make something specific. And this happens a lot, like, not a lot. A lot of my audience are extremely discerning, and they understand that the advice that's put out in videos is a collection of tidbits. It's like a buffet that you can select from and take from. Something may hit you right in the feels and be exactly what you need at that moment. Something might not be, and that's fine. But, you know, in any event, it's kind of like most people recognise that about the situation, you know? 1 second, I'm not going to edit this video because I do not edit newsletter videos, but I have to message my friends. Oh my god. I'm really sorry. Just take a sip of tea or something, or whatever you're drinking. By this point you're probably drinking something stronger. Okay, so yeah, basically that happens sometimes. There's a cross section, like a handful of times, where people will be like, this has just made me so angry because I had this happen, and you're trying to say that this isn't what I should have done. And it's like, I'm not trying to say that at all. The video literally was not actually designed specifically for you. It's just some people are in this space in their life where either they're looking for somebody to take their their grievances out on, and because they don't know me and I'm just this person that's got a public platform and I talk about stuff, I'm the appropriate target for their grievances. Or they really cannot just set themselves aside for a moment to think for a second that the video is not actually strictly speaking to exactly what they've been through and exactly the way everything came to be, right? So I do have to deal with that, and I do have to have a thick skin, because some people don't filter advice in a responsible way, or they don't accept their responsibility basically for needing to filter the advice. So, you know, taking what resonates and leaving the rest, it's like some people are quite skilled at doing that and other people really struggle with it, and it becomes you know, a real point of difficulty for them, I would say. So I have to employ self-love techniques quite a bit of the time, because I can feel like I'm being told that I'm personally attacking or demeaning somebody that I never would want to personally attack or demean. It never even crossed my fucking mind. So that's one thing. You know, and the way that I deal with that is just really to self-lovingly remind myself that I'm doing what I'm doing from a place of love, genuinely from a place of love. And it won't always be received that way. And that's part of the struggle of doing it. You know, that's part of the journey of actually doing it. And I think the other thing that I need to kind of stress is that every so often I'll come across somebody who just really despises me, who has just got a lot of vitriol towards me. And it happened the other day underneath Avalon Cameron's video, and I believe the comment has been deleted now, which means the comment thread has been deleted. But essentially this person was just telling me that everybody hates me because I'm a self-righteous, holier-than-thou piece of bigoted shit with a superiority complex, and I'm a conservative old-school witch who wants everything to be my way or the highway. And I was reading it and I was like, obviously this person had no, like, you know, no profile image and no videos up on their channel, because they want to reserve the right to be able to speak like this to people without actually having any comeback on them, which is very often the case, which is one of the ways in which I can self-love myself through such experiences, is by recognizing that, like, okay, well, this person isn't really putting themselves, they're not really putting themselves out there. They're not really in their vulnerability, you know? So it's not something that, it's something that they can say with ease because they're not taking the kind of creative risk that I'm taking, at least not on this platform. So it kind of means less to me already, because I've put myself out there in my vulnerability, and I love myself for doing that. And the other person hasn't. The other person is hiding in anonymity. But you know, one of the ways that I always, if somebody says something and it's like either purposefully mischaracterizing me, which I feel like anybody who says that I want everything to be my way or the highway is purposefully choosing to misunderstand me, because that's one thing that, there's a lot of shit you could say about me. There's a lot of shit you could say about me, and I'd take it, okay? I would take it. But that is just absurd. But some things that people say do kind of cut me, you know? And I do have to think about deathbed perspective when I'm dealing with either trolls or people that are being maybe a bit needlessly overly critical, you know? Maybe it could be more constructive. Maybe I'm not sure where they're coming from in saying what they're saying, and I might feel like it's an attack, but the jury might be out. I always try to think about deathbed perspective in those moments. Basically, at the end of my life, am I going to be happy that I put this out to the world, that I made these resources and that I copped some shit for it and I got hit in the feels a little bit by people, you know, who didn't like it or didn't agree, or not? And the answer is always invariably, yeah, I'm going to be happy I did this. I'm going to regret it if I don't do it because of somebody that's, you know, somebody that's telling me about myself in a way that might be affecting me on some level because of things that are going on with me, or just the way that they said something, or maybe they say something about me that I feel may be true and it hurt me because I'm trying to not accept that it's true, whatever. I always go back to thinking, I've just got this one life, this one incarnation that I know about, that I'm in right now anyway, and am I going to let somebody have the run of me in that way, to the point where I'm literally just kind of slinking away? I'm not going to slink away. That's not self-loving. And, you know, people do ask me to come along and ask me in my business mentoring sessions, in the comments underneath my videos, etc., how to get the confidence together to be on a public platform, to start talking about your experiences or sharing messages or whatever. And I always just say that you have to accept on some level that you're going to cop some shit. That is part of the deal. Should it be part of the deal? No. People should just behave well. But you do have to accept it as a reality. You don't have to accept it as fair or justified, but you have to accept it as a reality because you become a sticking pole for people's shadow. You know, and sometimes the criticism that you receive is valid and it's relevant, but I'm much more likely to swallow it myself if it's presented in a certain way. Not like super tone policing, but if somebody's being super aggressive and calling me names, then obviously their criticism has ceased to become constructive, and I'm not about it anymore. I'm not interested in it. You know, so, but I am interested in criticism that is constructive and is well thought out, or has been presented to me in a way where it's like, look, I respect you as a human being, but I hope you respect what I'm about to say to you about what you've made, kind of thing. I'm much more willing to take that on board, even if I don't completely agree. But, you know, it's really about, I think, recognizing that what you're doing is of worth and has value, and recognizing that it has value regardless of the fact that it's not universally accepted as having value. So I think that if you're going to try and do something like what I do, or anything like that, where you're putting yourself out there to an audience of people that you don't intimately know, you have to think of deathbed perspective. In other words, are you going to get to the end of your life and feel happy that you allowed a potential bunch of people that are going to criticize you to stop you from doing something that you feel could be really invigorating, really enlivening, really illuminating? And the answer to that is definitely you're not going to be happy that you let those people hold you back. And, you know, if you really think that what you're doing has value, even if you feel like it only has value for you, it's something that you want to do, it's something that fulfills you, then allow that to offset the fear that you have of trolls, because trolls come and go, but the feeling of executing your passion and enjoying that, that's forever. You know, that's for your whole lifetime. So anyway, those are some of the things I wanted to get off my chest. I suppose this is just, I guess, some reflections on what it's meant to me to be a creator of content that is intended to inspire, whilst at the same time knowing that that content can never be universally useful, because I can't know everybody's, you know, the context of everybody's situation. But yeah, if you would like to talk to me and work out the context of your particular situation, you know where you can find me. You can go to the store tab at kellyannemaddox.com. You can find me on YouTube. I'm making Self-Love September content all month long. And go over to SoundCloud as well. I'm doing Self-Love Sunday podcast on SoundCloud too throughout September. So much more coming from me. I'm always cooking something up in my creatrix cauldron. So look out for that. And I hope you've enjoyed this exclusive content, some thoughts, some rambles. Much love until next time I hit your inbox. Blessed be, honey bunnies.